Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the hospitality room, presented by Mascot Media. Bobby Swofford, Blair Cartwright. Mr. Swofford, long time no see. How are you, sir?
It's been a while. I'm well. I was on the disabled list last week, and so apologies for the absence, but we're back ready to talk all things sports.
Yes, and always good. And we have a lot to get to, so what do you say? Let's get right to it. Oh, fancy graphics. Yeah, the Super Bowl. We've missed talking about it.
Hmm.
Got to at least mention it. It was ugly, and Mahomes stunk. I mean, what more can you say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same thing happened to Patrick Mahomes that we've seen happen to all the great quarterbacks in the last 15 or 20 years in the Super Bowl, whether it's Tom Brady against the Giants a couple times, Peyton Manning against the Seahawks, Mahomes against the Bucks a couple years ago. Front four defenses that can create pressure by themselves can cause problems. And Kansas City couldn't get out of their own way. They couldn't move the chains. They got one first down in that first half, and everybody loves to talk about offenses, but the Philly defense has dominated the Super Bowl, and that's why they're world champs.
Well, you had mentioned that we were due a clunker, and
Hmm.
we got a clunker.
Yeah, we
It
did,
was
unfortunately.
yeah, but I was thinking about Mahomes has probably had five bad games in his career, which is
Yeah,
insane. In 7 years, it's just
yeah.
unfortunate. Number five had to happen in the biggest game of the season.
Yeah, you can make the argument that two of his worst performances have been in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Uh, I know his two most lopsided losses in his career have come in a
hmm
Super Bowl. I mean that kind of tells you a little bit of something about what's going on there. Yeah, it doesn't diminish what he's been able to do. It doesn't diminish that he's still the best quarterback in the NFL. It does delay the greatest of all time conversation because Tom Brady never lost a Super Bowl by more than 7 or 8.
yeah,
So, like, not being blown out probably goes a little bit in the conversation. Of course, there's still losses. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you lose by 1 or 100. It's still a loss. But Mahomes passing Brady on the Mount Rushmore is certainly put on the back burner for a while.
yeah, and it's way too early to talk about
Yeah,
goats and all that. But I mean, those two interceptions and just the
yeah.
lack of adjustment. I mean, everybody bags on Spags, and yeah, the Eagles did score 40 points, but
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like Kansas City's defense was. I mean, when your offense is that bad,
Yeah.
you're not beating anybody.
Well, I mean, you're losing the field position game, and take away the two interceptions that are essentially 14 points. One the pick six, of
Hmm
course, and one inside your own 10-yard line. Even if you take those two things away, if you're not getting first downs, you're not moving the chains, you're not giving your defense a rest. I mean, Philadelphia was playing on a short field the majority of the contest, and obviously, you got explosive playmakers on that side of the football for Philly anyway. They were going to score some points, and I mean, honestly, we were a pass interference call on the first drive of the game away from that thing being a blowout in the second quarter, let alone the second half.
Good point.
So I think we got a little lucky that it was close as it was for as long as it was.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Well, that brings us to the next topic. Halftime. Kendrick Lamar wasn't for
Hmm.
me. Straight up was not for me.
Yeah.
What'd you think? I mean, I appreciate
Eh,
his musicianship and his showmanship, but
yeah. I mean, so we were out at a restaurant, so we couldn't really hear it. So I'll say that as far as watching it live, I went back and watched it the next day. Yeah, it probably not for me either. Like, I don't mind some of his music. I get what it was, and obviously he won a bunch of Grammys this year. So I understand what they were trying, the message, and the Samuel L. Jackson coming out as Uncle Sam, and then Serena, Drake's ex girlfriend, coming out there and doing it for the culture or whatever whatever the phrase they used after they recapped it the next day. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it wasn't for me, but also I don't think it was meant for us either, to
yeah,
be quite honest.
true. And I think what was it, 147 million people watched, so
Yeah.
obviously they hit their audience.
Hmm.
As far as the ratings for the game itself, which is odd, 10 million less apparently viewed the game.
Yeah.
Most watched Super Bowl in history. I don't think that's any surprise, is it?
No, it's just. I mean, it just gets bigger and bigger. It's becoming more of a global event than it is a United States event. So that's not surprising at all.
Yes. So then the Fox production, the new score
Oh,
bug, the little
brutal.
green screen where they're on Dick, Bourbon Street,
Bourbon
Dixie
Street.
Street,
Yeah.
and then Brady. It was not a. I don't know how much of it the game would have made up for, but I just didn't think it was a very good production. Did you?
Yeah, no, I mean, literally, I think I texted you 2 seconds into the game. I'm like, "What
Yeah,
is the score bug?" And I wasn't the only
yeah,
person who was chirping about it on social media either. It was bad. I mean,
yeah.
it looks like they forgot to do the backgrounds. I mean, like
It's almost like
one,
they forgot to do the score bug for the Super Bowl.
yeah, it really does. I mean, when's the last time you saw just blank number or like just plain numbers on no background for a score bug? I mean, you have to go back to the probably the first ever score bug to ever be made. It didn't make
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah, it's too plain, too simple. Networks have done this in the last handful of years. They've rolled out their new graphics for an event. ESPN does it for the national championship game. CBS, Fox, they all do it for the Super Bowl. And most of the time, they do okay with it. I mean, but they were due for a clunker like we were for the game. And I do believe that's the only time we're going to see that score bug from Fox because I don't see that after that reaction, there's any way they can say, hey, this is our new graphics for the 2025 season.
let's hope so. I mean, it was if you didn't know better, you would not have thought that it was a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And
It's a preseason game in Northeast Arkansas. That's what that looked like.
and yeah, and it was bad. And the green screen with the Bourbon Street. I mean, that was
Yeah.
I don't know what that was all about. And then Brady, I don't know, Brady and Burkhardt. Granted, they didn't have a great game,
Right.
but it was just it wasn't good.
I mean, but I don't think anybody expected it to be good. I mean,
No,
Burkhardt's fine. He's not as good as some of the others, even on his own network. Tom Brady's still in his first ever season calling games, so I don't know what we really expected from him. And then you add the fact that he's out there at an $800,000 watch. He's not looking things making things look any better either. Yeah, I mean, so I think the bar was set pretty low, and they still didn't even meet it. So I mean, the production value is low. I'm very curious to see how long Brady sticks with it. I know he says that he's committed to doing the contract, and Fox is too. I think they find a way to get him out before too
well,
long.
and not to knock Brady, he does as good as he can, but he can't be in the production meetings, meeting
Right.
with the coaches and players. So I don't know how he's going to improve because it
Hmm.
may not sound like much, but that's where you get a lot of your material from. And he
Correct.
can't talk to him. So I don't know how realistically he can get better without those insights.
Hmm. Well, yeah, and we're starting to see. Okay, what makes an announcer valuable? Is it the name or is it the content that they produce? No longer is it just because John Madden's calling the game, it's a good game. That's not the case anymore. People are too critical. The fans are too intelligent now for that to be the case, and so that's why I think if Brady can no longer do those production meetings, if he can't go to practices. I don't think there's any way that Fox can say and justify to themselves, "Hey, we're going to keep you on the number one team."
Yeah, especially for that kind of money. And also,
Yeah.
I did think it was weird. They didn't go to the sideline reporters, Tom Rinaldi, or I think they went to Aaron Andrews 3 times, and we didn't see Rinaldi hardly at all. I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of odd. Or they they talked to the coach, but they didn't have an on coach care
Yeah.
interview, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that even back during the regular season, not just Fox, both networks would do that quite often. They would go to their sideline reporter, but they wouldn't have the coach. They would recap what the coach said to them, which AKA is the PR guy said, "Hey, this is what we're doing."
Yeah,
Uh, I don't know. To me, sideline reporters are, I'm not going to say useless because I mean there are instances where you need them,
hmm,
but not like they don't use them as nearly as much as they used to. Like getting injury reports, getting updates from the sideline, what's going on in the huddle. They don't do that stuff anymore. It's really more about in-depth storytelling, and I don't think we need that because the game's the story.
yeah, yeah. People have tuned in and they've already figured that out. So yeah, good point. All right, moving along. The Saints finally make it official. Kellen Moore, head coach. Jobs are all filled.
Hmm.
Is he crazy leaving a Super Bowl champion for the dumpster fire that is New Orleans?
Yeah, maybe a little bit because the one thing he's not going to have in New Orleans that he has right now is a Super Bowl winning roster, and they're in salary cap hell. I mean, I know those new salary cap numbers came out today, and they're a lot higher than they were expected. So the Saints may not be in as bad shape, but I mean, you're still looking at a franchise that's $50 or $60 million in the hole when it comes to salary cap space. And I get it, franchises can move money around. That's not a problem. But I mean, it's a complete rebuild. Don't even know if you have a quarterback. I mean, obviously Derek Carr's situation is going to be up in the air. They're in a bad spot. I mean, if outside of the Dallas Cowboys, they may be in the worst spot going into the offseason. And he probably turned down the Cowboys job for this, because you got to believe that he was a front runner for that position as well.
Which makes you wonder just how bad the
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys situation is. But now all the jobs are filled. Now the fun, as you said, the salary cap and all that takes place over the next week. All right, turn to basketball. Razorbacks and Cal, 15-10, 4-8 in the conference. 3 of the last 6 are against ranked teams. Number 1 Auburn tonight.
Yeah.
Can they make the tournament? Will they make the tournament?
Can they? Yes. Will they? I'm going to say it's 50-50 at best. They had a chance to beat A&M the other night and let it slip away. And all because of the things that they've done all year long, which is have these 3 to 5 minute stretches where they just go brain dead and they can't produce on the offensive end. So it is really, I know it's got to be really frustrating for the diehard Razorback fans out there who are just living and breathing and dying with every possession, because there's going to be those stretches where they just kind of fall flat on their face. If they win the night, sure, they're right back in it. Lenardi's got them on the bubble, or first team out. Right back and forth. Pretty much every time he updates his bracket. So if they've got 6 games left and they go 3-3, let's say they lose to all the ranked teams and they win the other 3, 18-13 going into the tournament. And what if they go 1-1? So a 19-14 team in the SEC, that puts you at 8-12 overall games, 7-11 in the regular season. I don't know, is that good enough? Everybody talks about how great the SEC is. Everybody thinks the league's the best league that's ever seen college basketball. Is the 10th best team from that league good enough to get to the tournament? Is the 14th best team from that league good enough to get to the dance? I don't know.
Yeah, and nobody's really. And the thing is, there's really not a dominant team. Well, Auburn, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they win tonight, they're probably in, because that's huge. Because what they did to Alabama was insane. But I mean, I don't know. They don't have any bad losses, so that helps. But then we're seeing a lot of other teams get knocked off, like Kansas last night. So I don't know. It's the SEC tournament may be more of a play-in situation than we anticipate.
Yeah, I mean, Cal's obviously had a lot of success in the SEC tournament. Would it be completely shocking to see him go out there and get Arkansas to the finals as a 10 seed or a 12 seed? I don't think it'd be that surprising.
Yeah, it's all about the matchups. But still, who thought we'd be in this situation?
Yeah.
25 games in, Calipari's first year. I mean, a little surprising to say the least. All right, and it brings us, got to build the Nolan statue, and this thing wouldn't even be an issue. They are going to honor the 90 Final Four team, which I think is the first time they've been honored, which is kind of sad. It's taken this long when they host Missouri on Saturday. So it would have been nice to have had the statue unveiling then. But
is this going to be a part of the hospitality room until they build it every time?
Possibly. We just want to make
as soon as they build the Nolan statue, that's going to start becoming where are the cup holders inside Baum Walker segment.
Well, that's an obvious one because it is 2025. Speaking of Baum Walker, the Razorbacks did sweep Washington State off to Arlington. I don't know. It's so early. I don't know if we can. I don't even know why we have rankings. Honestly, I don't know how you can get a read on a team after one go. But they won. So
yeah, they did. They're supposed to. There's like 12 different college baseball polls, which I've never understood how and why there are so many.
Yes.
But yes, they were supposed to beat Washington State. Yeah, you're the SEC powerhouse playing against a Mountain West school, even though it is Washington State, former Pac-12. Get it? What I took out of that opening weekend, Arkansas's pitching going to be pretty good, right? We expected that. Yeah. It's a miracle they haven't had an injury to the rotation yet, because that seemed to happen every year before the season started. So knock on wood, I guess.
Yes.
But let's go back to the game one of the weekend. Close game. They need extra innings to win it. Aloy, the returning Aloy brother, and Kendall Diggs both had opportunities on base to move runners over or to get them in, and you don't have to deal with that. And they both had god-awful approaches and both swung and missed and both struck out. To me, that says they haven't changed. At least those two players haven't changed. So if you can't rely on Aloy and Diggs, you're going to need those 7 new starters to contribute and produce plentiful. And they did that in the other 3 games. But at some point, Diggs and Aloy are going to have to stop trying to hit home runs and just try to do a job.
No, I agree. And I think we'll get a better read on the team this weekend because they're inside in Arlington. It was ridiculously cold over the weekend. And
Yeah.
it was not fun for everyone. So we'll see what happens there. Got to give a shout out to the softball team, 10-0 for the first time ever, ranked 10th. They'll face a ranked team in UCLA on Sunday at the Nutter Classic. I know it's trendy to best start in school history, whatever, but
Mm-hmm. Who you played matters too.
that and you got to take that next step. So you're
Mm-hmm.
almost setting yourself up. So
Yeah.
but
Hey, but
kudos.
SEC Player of the Week. Brie Ellis hit 4 home runs opening
Yeah,
weekend. So
yeah.
they can produce. Can they win in a regional? That's the biggest question for Arkansas.
That is the biggest question left for that program, and her slugging percentage is like 1,667, which I didn't even know your slugging percentage could be above 1,000. So
Yeah.
kudos to her. All right, rock and roll. The nominees are out. Here are the nominees. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Mariah Carey.
What a list.
Yeah, I mean, who do you put in here?
The fact that Mariah Carey is on the same list as Outkast and Fish is entertaining.
Yeah, in New Order. I mean,
Yeah.
but is it? We almost need to rename it, don't we? I mean, it's rock
Yes.
and roll, but I'm sorry. I like New Order. I listened to them a lot in college. That's not rock and roll. It should be like the Music Hall of Fame, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly right. Just like Outkast. Outkast is not rock and roll music, but
No,
they've
it's
been one of the
good.
most influential groups
Yeah,
for 25 years. So
yeah.
yeah, and Bad Company. Bad Company and the Black Crowes. They deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Soundgarden probably so too. The White Stripes, Joe Cocker, Billy Idol. But
How's Chubby Checker not in?
yeah, but Mariah Carey, not exactly the rock and roll superstar that you think of, right?
No,
Not saying that
and
she's not impactful in music, but
yeah,
it's not rock and roll.
no. I mean, and the White Stripes, though good, I don't know
Yeah.
long term. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, but I just thought off the top of your head. Okay, let's say you can put 4 in. Who are the 4 you're putting in?
I'm going Bad Company, Mariah Carey, Outkast, and Billy Idol.
Over Joe Cocker.
Yeah.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know how you define it.
That one Christmas song from Mariah Carey has kept her relevant for like 25 years.
She makes what, 2 million a year every
Yeah, on that
year.
one song. Yeah.
Yeah, and she didn't even write it. That's
Yeah.
what's crazy. And
It's not
she's
bad, right?
still making money. Yeah, we should all be so lucky. All right, we've got
You've got mail.
mail.
What?
Yes, we have mail. So, what is the one food you could eat for 30 days straight and not have second thoughts about it? This comes from Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.
Is this a genre of food or the same item of food?
I think it's the same. I'm going to take it as the same item.
Okay. Tacos.
I'm with you. I'm with you there. Yeah, I could eat tacos 30 days straight. Now, with this cold weather, I could probably do chili for 30 days.
Yeah, it's not a bad selection either.
But it's got to be cold.
Yeah, because you can mix it up. Yeah, it does have to be cold to really get in the mood for chili.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll stick with tacos there. That's a good question, though.
Yeah. Is there anything else besides tacos?
I'm a simpleton. I could eat a hamburger every day for 30 straight days. That wouldn't bother me one bit.
Yeah, I could do that. Okay, Well, what if he changed it like on the hamburger?
Yeah, you could just go completely crazy with the
Changed it.
condiments. Yeah,
Yeah. Would that count in a sense? I guess it could.
yeah. I mean, if you had the ability to change everything on it, or if you had to leave it the same, I could still eat a hamburger every day. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I can make that happen.
If you
Probably
had,
did make that happen for most of my 20s, to be quite honest.
yeah, I think we're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
Where, if you had one choice to get, where would you get the hamburger from, or would you
Oh.
cook it?
Uh, David's Burgers is really good. I don't know. I don't know if there's any of those in Northwest Arkansas, but that's solid down here in the central part of the state. If I had to go
Yes.
like strictly fast food chains,
Hmm.
I am one of the very few people that actually think Sonic makes a pretty good hamburger.
Not bad. I'll give him that. I would prefer Brahms if I had to go.
Oh yeah, the Brahms is a
Because,
one.
then you get a mix.
Yeah,
Whataburger, the chain, not bad. Now, Whataburger in Russellville, a given. Well, then you
yeah.
get in the whole CJ's Whataburger debate when you go to Russellville.
Hmm.
How do you determine which one you go to? Do you flip a coin?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, of all the fast food chains, like McDonald's is probably last on my list. Um,
Well,
but
the
I don't like
value meal
salt.
does come in handy though when you've got like five
Yeah, I don't like
bucks.
salt though, and so their fries are too much. Wendy's is not terrible. But, I'm a Sonic guy through and through.
Okay, yeah. Well, the Sonics usually tend to be more
Mhm.
conveniently located.
One thing that contributes to my size growing up though, there was a Hardee's in rural America, and the
Yeah.
Frisco burger on the sourdough bread,
Mmm.
A1.
That is probably an undervalued ingredient in a hamburger is the bun,
Yeah.
without
R.I.P.
question.
to the Roland America Hardee's. It didn't last long. It's
Yeah.
now an Arby's.
Oh wow, that's quite
Yeah.
the transition. Crazy. Oh, we do have one more email from Gerald. What happens if Cal doesn't make the tournament? Does anything change?
Yeah, I mean, he's already come out and said that he's going to have to take a different approach to having 8 or 9 players. It wasn't the right move. They're going to have more depth. So I think we're going to see more. I'm not going to say developmental players added to the roster because he's not going to go out and start making projects. But
No.
I guess I saw a thing on social media this morning. The Avant kid out of was it Maryland's top 10 player in the country. He's already got a Reebok endorsement deal. I guess Cal's on him pretty hard. I think the biggest changes that we're going to see is them going all in and maybe getting a few more transfers instead of relying on as many high school players.
Yeah, I mean that's. I don't think we really have to worry about Cal because he's never having dudes has never been a problem
Yeah.
for him. Results in the postseason of
Mm-hmm.
late, yeah, but yeah, I don't. No one's ever said the dude has lost at recruiting. Everybody's complaint
Yeah.
is the X's and O's. Now, whether that translates to staff changes, I'd kind of be surprised because I don't think the current staffs would be easy to depart from just because of the contracts.
Yeah, I agree with you. But also, too, like, one thing that everybody's talking about, oh, what's wrong with Arkansas? What's wrong with Arkansas? You know what's wrong with Arkansas?
Tell me.
Who's in their league right now is ranked number 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 15, 17, 21, and 24. That's what's wrong with Arkansas. The SEC is freaking good.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, and all those teams have multiple players back,
Yeah.
and you've got an Arkansas team that basically Brazil's the only guy that was back.
Yeah. So you got 9 teams in the top 24 right now, and none of those are Texas, and none of those are Arkansas. I mean,
Yeah.
that's saying that things are pretty good in the league.
Well, yeah. Well, how about last Saturday when number one Auburn plays number two Alabama? That had never happened.
Yeah.
One versus two in the SEC ever in 75 years, which is kind of amazing. But then
Yeah.
again, maybe not. But still, That's
It is surprising especially with the runs that we've had from, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Florida in the 90s, and Florida in the 2000s. It is a little surprising that it hadn't happened. But, I mean, it may happen multiple times this year with multiple different teams. If we could have 1 versus 2, it could be completely different in 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, I mean Florida. I mean Auburn and Florida if they play. I mean because
I think
Florida's been
Florida is
number
the
two.
scariest team in the country.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's. I mean the SEC tournament of all years. It's going to be unreal.
yeah.
The drama, just unbelievable.
I mean, we were talking before we hit record today. I mean, would it shock you to see Arkansas and Cal push Arkansas into the semifinals or the finals of the conference tournament?
No.
No. And they've got enough talent to do so. It's just
Yeah.
they got to go put it together for a week.
Well, and that's it. You almost think it would be more advantageous for them when you get in that scenario when you're playing, back to back to back,
Mm-hmm.
away from all the distractions. You could probably find it easier to make a run.
Yeah, just the depth. The depth is going to be their biggest bugaboo. Come
Yeah,
tournament time.
yeah. Oh well, Gerald, we appreciate it.
Mm.
HPMM podcast at gmail.com. Send us more emails. We'd love to hear from you. All right. Final thoughts as we start to go under the 3-minute mark here. What else jumps out at you this weekend? I mean, obviously, we're getting close to state basketball tournament time.
Yeah,
We'll have streams on the AAA website and app. And, I mean, man, it's hard to believe it's almost here.
yeah. We need the weather to stop. I
Yeah.
mean, I understand that. We always get 1 week in February that's just kind of crazy. We need it to stop. District tournaments have likely been canceled all week long, and it's going to roll into next week and affecting regional tournaments. It's going to be a problem, unfortunately. But yeah, this time of year is fun because we got state wrestling championships coming up next weekend. Going to be in Little Rock at the Jack Stevens Center at
Oh,
UALR.
nice.
And then we got the regional and state basketball tournaments aren't much farther after that. It's a fun time of the year, but of course, if I take away my AAA hat for a little while, NFL offseason is upon us. I mean, we're already hearing that T. Higgins is going to get the franchise tag with Cincinnati. Trey Smith likely not going to get the franchise tag, the offensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs. How do these teams, take the information that they got today with what the salary cap's going to be? How do they readjust? Who's going to be a cap casualty? Who's going to get cut? I mean, this is my wheelhouse, and of course, the NFL pro days are going to be coming up pretty soon. The draft, the combine. It's I think I've said it before. I almost like the off season as much as I like the regular season.
Yeah, I was going to say the off season has almost more drama than the season,
Mm-hmm.
and the season had quite a bit of drama this year.
Yeah. And plus, with the salary cap expanding like it is, that means the salaries are going to obviously balloon up. But teams can restructure. Mahomes did the Chiefs a huge solid by structuring his contract the way he did. They can just restructure it almost every year and get paid more up front, but also creates more salary cap space. But then you also have the other teams on the other end, like the Raiders. Who've got a bunch of cap money, but nobody wants to go play for them because they're a disaster. And then you got the Saints that probably nobody wants to play for, but they're in salary cap hell. So it's going to be really fun. I like to sit there and put pencil to paper and figure out what these teams are going to do.
How much more did the cap go up than expected?
It's like I think 8 or 9 million more. So it's gone up like $40 million over the last 2 years, which obviously has a lot to do with the TV contract, with YouTube ponying up all the money for the Sunday ticket.
That's a starter. Final word?
Yeah.